Welcome to the Rural Dispatch, the podcast delivering stories from rural America. I'm your host, Allie Behrens. Headquartered in rural Iowa, I help run a nationwide livestock transportation company, and I'm here to bring you stories from the people who help shape this industry and our rural communities. Whether you're a trucker, livestock producer, or rural entrepreneur, this show is for you. Each week, we explore the realities of rural business life, from the highways to the fields and everything in between. So buckle up and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Rural Dispatch. In this episode, I am joined by Jeremy Behrens, my brother-in-law and Smoke's brother, who also works in the trucking industry, but that hasn't always been the case. We will talk about his journey in the trucking industry and the differences in him being raised in town versus Smoke being raised as a farm kid. We'll also cover key topics like the challenges of being an independent trucker and what new drivers should know before jumping into the industry. Jeremy, thanks for being here.
It was sprung on me.
You're filling in. Smoke lost his voice this morning, so I appreciate it.
I think I'm going to enjoy it.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Here we go.
Here we go. So tell me a little bit about what you do currently.
Currently, I haul livestock feed into local cattle feedlots out of the ethanol plants around here. Ethanol plants, bean plants, those are predominantly where I haul out of. Very local. I used to be cross-country hauling livestock for 16 years? So I started in 2001 hauling livestock, and then I started in 2018 hauling feed, where I came off the road to be home.
I mean, you're able to be home now every night, weekends.
And that's what's nice with kids and schedules, and unfortunately being divorced, I can set my own schedule in a way. I mean, this work obviously always still has to get done like it does in any job, but if I want to get up at 3 a.m. and be done at noon, or if I want to start and be done at 2, but still go back to work at 8 o'clock at night, I can do that. It allows that flexibility.
That's huge, especially when you have kids.
Yes.
And activities.
Yes.
And all the other things.
100%. Life's just busy. But I do enjoy the livestock feed hauling.
Let's back up to, you did used to haul livestock.
So yeah, let's start from there. So I was going to college, and it was coming up on my 21st birthday. I would say later on in 2001. I didn't really know what direction I was going in life. I was living locally, going to DMAC in Carroll, working for my dad on the farm and working part-time at McDonald's still. And I think my dad seen I really didn't have any direction. And so he bought a truck and said, well, when you turn 21, we're going to send you truck. And I never wanted any part of trucking, just for the fact of I seen all the time I had missed with my dad growing up over the years, and I didn't really know if I wanted that for my family. But I also seen everything it provided, the work ethic, the financial side of it, if you keep at it. So I was willing to get into it, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. Funny thing about it was, so I was almost 21 and Smoke would have been 14, and he's the one that taught me to drive. So Dad bought a truck probably in October and sent us around the section a couple times, and that's how I learned how to shift and drive and do what I had to do. So a 14-year-old taught me, because he had been going all across the country with Dad driving and wasn't going anywhere. I was at home partying and doing what I wanted to do.
I feel like I've heard stories from some of the older guys. Hey, remember that time I took a nap and you drove for me?
100%.
And he was like 14.
Yes. And I took mini naps with Smoke behind the wheel, and I was in the bunk. So once I turned 21, then I went to trucking. My dad did go with me for about the first month, I would say, all over, just to really train me good, because just from the livestock side of it, with handling the livestock, loading the livestock, understanding the sale barns, understanding how to deal with farmers. You know, you're not just pulling into a shipping company like you are with a bigger trucking company that isn't livestock, and figuring hit this dock and we'll unload you. And you got to figure out all that your own, especially back then. We did haul, I think you guys still do haul a lot of hogs, but just learning all that side of loading and unloading along with driving was super important. But our dad was old school when he taught you too. I won't forget how I really learned how to figure out my way and navigate is pretty sure we loaded out of Presho, South Dakota, and we got to the interstate. And he hopped in with Denny Kluver. We pulled off to the side on the on-ramp, and he said, well, I'm going to hop in with Kluver. You know where your Grandpa Pudens lives. I'll meet you on the other end. I'm like, I'm going to do what? And it still gives me goosebumps to this day, because I'm like, well, it's sink or swim. And I know this is how you learn, but, you know, that was before cell phones.
Yeah, you were truly on your own.
You were truly, here's your map. we'll meet you on the other end. Yeah, I know
Mhm.
you'll figure it out. And what was good about it is my dad was good at giving you that confidence and having that confidence in you to say, okay, I'm going to throw you to the wolves. It wasn't, I'm going to throw you to the wolves so I can laugh at you and watch you sing. It was, I'm going to throw you to the wolves because I know that I've done my job. Now it's time for you to spread your wings. So we made it. But I'll be honest, getting into it, coming from being a city kid and just wanting to work my job in high school and to work my jobs after high school, trucking was a huge culture shock to me and my world and my job world. I didn't understand the hours and the dedication that it was going to take to make it through trucking, because you don't just show up to work and shift gears and go home. There was a lot more that went into it, of understanding the mental side of not sleeping, just all the pressure that can kind of be put on you, because like you guys were talking in a couple earlier podcasts of the money and what is under your control with these farmers, that the respect they're giving you to have all that under your hands. You're not just hauling a load of pop or something. You're hauling something live. For me, I guess I've always had a pretty deep heart. I took it as very serious, of something live back there. Like now, if I wreck a load of feed, well, I wreck a load of feed. Life
Right.
goes on.
It hurts you and that it only affects you.
Yes, to where a load of livestock, it's hurting the livestock. It's hurting the farmer. There's a lot more variables behind it.
Absolutely.
Getting into it, I guess, and going to get my CDL. Luckily, back then, it was a lot easier. So my dad could just train me and I could go in and take the test, to where now, you know, you're paying somebody, either somebody to train you. I don't know if these trainers, I'm pretty sure you have to go through a certified trainer anymore. $5,000, $10,000. I don't know what these guys spend anymore to get just a CDL class training. And then you got to go through all of your certifications and all that on top of it. So there's a lot more rules and regulations, as have come with every industry through the years, but it's very tight on CDLs anymore. And I think it is very hard for younger generation to just hop in. I mean, you got your classes that you got to take to get the CDL. Plus, then you got insurance companies are so strict anymore. You say, how do I get my first job? I'm not so sure I even know that answer if you don't have a family friend or a family member, because these companies are where you need all this 2 years plus experience, and how do you get it without knowing somebody? So I think that's where a lot of your people that don't have the connections like we are blessed to have, that go to school and then they are able to get jobs through that school. But we're very fortunate here in the Midwest of what we're granted with work ethic, with family friends, of getting into a lot of different industries with trucking, or especially on the livestock side. I don't know how you just come from the city and get into it, but
Yeah.
it'd take a lot more.
Yeah. We've had a couple guys ask recently about jobs that are either just newly 21 or turning 21 in a couple months. And unfortunately, the reality is we can't hire a 21-year-old anymore.
That's the unfortunate part, is insurance has really restricted a lot of, like what I said, my dad giving me the reins and just having the trust that you can't just give somebody that trust. I feel like all of us around here, we're so engaged with people, our family anyway. I feel like we can all be a pretty good read of character. If somebody's a hard worker, we can spot out like, oh yeah, let's hire that guy, put him to work. You can't just do that anymore, because there's all these other different factors that go into it.
We aren't actually in charge of our own business in some aspects. I mean, we would love to hire some of these guys, but insurance says we can't. And unfortunately, we have to be insured. I mean, there's no way around it, really.
I know. And so I know that as big as the world gets and as many people are out there anymore, we need these rules and regulations. But we're also stifling some of these kids, giving them a chance and opportunity, because then they're told no so many times they're going to find something. And hopefully they'll come back to it, but not typically. Trucking job, especially over the road, it's for your younger generation. That's what I loved about it. Once I got into it and understood what it took and started to like my job, you see the whole country and you meet all different kinds of people, and you get out of your little shell of what you're used to, and you really get to go see the world. And it opened it up for me. I know that. And it opened up to just how genuine I would say people in the livestock world are compared to, I had always worked in fast food world. So you're used to just, the customer is always right, is what I learned. And that's the good thing about what I brought the rest of my life through, maybe just a small, simple McDonald's job. But you really learned work ethic once you got into the livestock and got trucking and got out of that job and got to see the world. It was pretty awesome.
It's a different ballgame when you have more responsibility than just yourself. I think that
Yes.
teaches a lot of lessons.
It does. It does. And that's where I think it was a culture shock, like I said, to me with hauling the livestock and the farmer, and that I wasn't just slapping a hamburger together. Now I had hundreds of thousands of dollars that I was responsible for. And I took that very seriously, and I mentally couldn't handle it very well right away. It was a lot.
So you haul feed, obviously, for some of the same producers that you were hauling livestock for previously.
You guys.
Yeah. How does that look? I mean, still very relationship based in what
It
you're
is
doing
very
now?
relationship based. When you see somebody else hauling in, you're like, oh, dang, I wonder where they got a deal from. And I get margins get so thin for guys anymore that when they call with a deal and they say, oh, we got a truck that'll haul it, and they haul it in, it's not the end of the world at all. I don't let it bother me because we all have margins that we try to make, and things just go the way they do. Now, I do love that a lot of the guys that I did haul for hauling livestock is where I haul into now. So I got to keep them relationships. And that's how I got into the feed hauling. It's actually one of Smoke's friends who I work with. I was getting ready to leave on a Sunday afternoon one time, and he went by hauling feed, and obviously to one of Smoke's customers that you guys haul cattle to. And I said, where are you going? Oh, just coming from Greg Pudence's. I said, okay. He said, think I'm ready to be home a little more. You got an opportunity to haul feed. And he said, yeah, I'm actually looking for a truck. So that Monday I talked to Smoke and my dad and said, I'm going to go my separate way. And they were always super supportive of it, which was nice. I can't say it was always a smooth ride for us. It was obviously very up and down. And that's how siblings and family working together can go. I will say, for me, this side of it is better. I will say that me and Smoke have butted heads a lot in our life, and I think we're at the best spot we've ever been, and it is phenomenal. I wouldn't go back to not getting along with my brother for nothing. This is a way better spot to be in life. So thankfully, coming off the road brought a lot of hard but good times here, and I enjoy it. And I mean, Smoke was talking a couple weeks ago. He's like, yeah, I tried putting cattle in this certain lot. I'm like, perfect. We'll be hauling more loads, So that's what's nice is we still do deal with a lot of the same guys, where they're at. I take a lot of pride in my job. So when it's 30 below out or when the snow drifts are 10 foot higher, just like Smoke takes pride in getting them cattle safe and who he's hiring, getting them from point A to point B, I take pride in my job of making sure there's always feed there. You go without feed for a couple of days, you're going to throw them cattle completely off. Now you're losing money on the back end because of rate of gain. And I guess I personally take all that as my own responsibility, as my job. And that's what I like about it is I'm still kind of counted on, and I like being held responsible in life. How we were all raised, I guess, take responsibility and put in effort. That's what life's about. That's what trucking's about a lot. You can fail real easy in trucking. You got to get up and go to work every day. You got to put effort in. Even your days off, go look it over. Go make sure the truck's ready. Anymore, I do like to take Sundays off. It's not like I've earned it, but I'm just to a point in life, I guess, with church and God that I like to have Sunday as my rest day. But I'm still down making sure my truck started in the morning. I'll go down now Sunday afternoon and grease it, look it all over if there's any tires. Or there's really never a day off. There's paperwork, there's everything that comes with it. And that's a big key to being successful, whether you're a one truck operation like I am or a 15 to 20 truck operation like Smoke is. You got to be dedicated to your job and you got to love it. It's a lifestyle. It's not 8 to 5. I'm going to show up, put my time in and go home, because you might get that call at midnight. This guy forgot to order a load of feed. You got to get it there by 6 a.m. You might not be happy about it, but that's your job and you got to take accountability for it. So I think that's what I actually like about it is still being held responsible. But that's the big key to keeping a truck moving is being dedicated and putting the effort in.
Let's dive into that a little more, how your operation works. You've owned your own truck for a while. I think even when you were here, you just pulled a trailer.
2015, I bought my own truck again.
And now you obviously own your own trailer and you're doing all of it yourself. How do you manage it? Because you don't really have any outside help, right?
No, I don't. I do hire Joy Fitzgerald out of Altoona to just kind of keep me up to date on all of my licensing and IFTA and all that. But beyond that, honestly, you just got to sit down at least a couple times a week, put in your little bit of paperwork that you need to. I like to go sit down once a month and I have a spreadsheet that I have for all my costs going out. I like to break that down, whether it's fuels went up, went down. Your once a year, your insurance cost is always going to change. Just different costs that might change. And I think when you do that, then it reminds you, oh, I got this coming up this next month to renew so-and-so permit. Doing it that way is nice, just staying on top of your paperwork. Now, it is hard for all of us, I think, whether it's me, you, whether you're big or small, the text, emails that you get that you don't know, are they spam? Are they real? It was probably 3 years ago because my dad was still alive. He's been gone a little over 2 now, but I remember I took a class online one Saturday. It was a couple-hour employee retention class or something. It was $150, and I went down and complained to my dad. It's like, you didn't have to take that class. You don't have any employees. But I didn't know that. You know, I was getting these emails that you have to do this to be compliant. You have to do that to be compliant. And most of it's just spam. So I think when you're a small truck operation like me, one, you have to have like a Joy B. Fitzgerald, or there's so many companies out there, small companies that can guide you through that.
Well, and I think they're there for a reason because, I mean, it's very common to be a one-man show in this industry.
It is anymore, especially like myself where you're not pulling somebody else's trailer. You know, a lot of your guys can call Smoke or Missy and let you know what's a lot of the rules and regulations are because you keep up on a lot more of them a lot easier, I guess. Got a backdoor neighbor that owns a trucking company in town, and they had to hire a compliance manager a couple years ago just because there's so many rules and regulations to keep up on. And especially he's on the other side where he's not in livestock to where they have the electronic logbooks. I think there's just so much there that you have to have a person hired anymore almost, or some help to keep you on track.
Let's touch on ELDs a little bit. I think probably everything you do is ag exempt.
Yes, I am ag exempt still. So I am within the 150 air mile radius of no logbook. You guys are still just with the paper logs, correct?
We don't have ELDs. A lot of our guys have gone to using Motive, which is not like a true ELD. It's just an electronic log. It looks exactly like a paper log. It's just on an iPad.
Okay.
And I can pull it up at any time on my end, which is really nice.
I don't get out of my 150 air mile radius, so I don't run any electronic logs. I don't run any paper logs. Now, me and my dad and a bunch of the livestock hauling community went to Washington, D.C. back in 2016 to advocate against the ELDs for livestock haulers. Our point was, back then, I was hauling a lot of hogs from western Oklahoma out to L.A., and our point was, what if I'm in the middle of Arizona and it's 110 degrees and you say my LLD runs out? What do we do? And I get their point was you had, map that out, get another truck, do this or that. But where they came in with the 150 air mile radius and giving you that exemption was, if you feel you can make it that extra couple hours, you can get that livestock there safely. So we were able to accomplish some things when we went out there. I can't say I'm a huge component for the ELDs. I just read an article the other day, the FMCSA and the government's coming out with a study saying how crashes and fatalities have went up since 2016. Now, I don't know if a lot of that relates to the ELDs. I personally would say some of it does. I think there's a better way they can break some of the ELD time up where you can take a nap, get back in like you used to be able to, break your time up a little better with the paper logbooks to where you could pull over if you were tired and you didn't have an electronic device telling you when and when not to. And then a lot of it, I think some of these crashes with the ELDs and all this comes down to, if you see somebody good and you want to hire them, you really can't. So then we're finding all these people to go off to school, which is great, but I don't know if when they get sent out, if they're not quite ready. I don't know, but what the crashes that went up to, I'm not sure what all the cause of that is.
Well, I feel like there's so much technology anymore. You're taking the common sense out of it.
Yes, and I think that's a lot of the problem with it.
I mean, everybody has GPS on their phone anymore.
Yes, 100%.
And we've had some younger guys start, and he's like, well, look at your map. And they're like, I don't know.
They don't know how to read
this.
No.
And I mean, the reality is, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're not always going to have cell service.
No,
and
you're not.
Google Maps is not always reliable, especially when you're in a truck.
No, not at all. And the map will be deceiving once in a while, too, but you'll learn really fast. I'll never forget. I had to be 28. And Smoke was right at 21, and we loaded in western North Carolina. He's like, let's just take this little road across here. It's like 50 miles. I said, it's a terrible idea, but back in the day, you didn't argue with Smoke. It was, he knew all. So,
back in the day, has that changed?
Yeah. So I followed him, and we made it through, and it was not fun. And we got to the other end, he goes, That was a bad idea. I said, yeah, that was a terrible idea, but I wasn't going to argue with you. I'm just glad we made it because it was pretty hairpin and up and down. But that was before GPS. And so we thought, oh, here's a little shortcut on a map. But we all did back in the day. And I'm glad I still have that talent, I guess you could call it, to really read a good road map and really be able to know where you're going with it. Yeah, that's all we had back in the day were big atlas. You had a flip phone. I mean, my dad had a bag phone at first, and then we had flip phones. But otherwise, like I said, when my dad threw me to the wolves on Interstate 90 that day, you had a map. So you truly learned how to get to where you need to go just on your own. You got to use your own brain power, I guess.
Yeah, you do. That's another thing. Like even with the Motive app that the guys run, it looks just like a paper log, but it flags if you're over your 11 hours. It's telling you.
Okay.
You need to go in and fix it. Well, the older guys, I don't think I'll ever get them to switch to Motive. They're stuck in their ways and they've been doing paper logs forever.
Yes.
And they do them right. But there are times when they add something up wrong or whatever it may be. You don't have to think about it with the Motive.
You don't. And I think there's positive and negatives to it all. I think all of our electronics have been a great thing, but I also think that they've stifled our brains a little bit and just using our own power, what God gave us. You see it in ourselves and our kids. And I mean, I know I enjoy being able to bring my kids out here to Your and Smoke's farm here because it is good to get them kids out of town and get them out on the farm and get them smelling shitty and dirty and get them away from them electronics and just using their own imagination a lot of the time. There's a huge difference.
Do you have advice?
I think advice for getting into trucking would be have a little bit of a nest egg financially if you want to buy a truck. If you're starting ground level, I would say start driving for somebody. Don't think you're going to hop in, buy one, get all the insurances. You're going to overwhelm yourself and probably push your own self out because you'll be so frustrated within the first year. Because financially, you'll struggle. I mean, it is very hard getting off the ground and getting going. To get in, I would just try to obviously find a school now. I know there's a lot of them around to get your CDL. And then personally, I would start with a local grain farmer. Feel like going there instead of a huge company right away. If you can get on with somebody smaller, it's a little more personable. They're going to guide you a little better and teach you a little more. I'm not saying you're not going to learn just as much for the big companies, but I don't think it's going to be as intimate. And I think you're going to be able to get a lot more out of your job and a lot better learning experience with a small guy instead of a huge company. Now, I've never worked for a huge company, so I don't know. They probably have some great trainers. They probably have some amazing people to guide you along your way. I just feel like if you could get a local rock hauling grain job right away to get your feet wet, because those jobs are going to be, you'll have some times where it's just 8-hour days, but you'll have some times where it's going to be longer days also. So you can see is this lifestyle for me or not? Because the amount of hours and dedication you got to put into trucking to really be successful, I think would really surprise some people. It's not just a job. It's truly a lifestyle.
One other thing I do want to point out is we haul all across the country. So for us, insurance, even finding an insurance company that will insure us for that radius is difficult.
Yes.
So I think for these younger guys, you might have to stay local for a while because that's the only way. I think you
probably will because insurance is going to restrict you to that right away. And I think that's good though, because when I started, I really did just dive right in, and it wasn't but a couple months, and my dad sent me out east into crazy traffic around Philadelphia and then the mountains right away. And I was nervous. I was real nervous because I didn't have the seat time riding along per se like Smoke did his whole life because I just wasn't interested in it like he was. Luckily, what was nice about it is I was working for my dad, but it was a small trucking company that he sent me out following another guy the whole week. So he didn't just send me, completely out on my own and here's a map. And I still pretty much had a trainer. I just had to drive my own truck and trailer, but I still had somebody leading the way.
And we still do that even with an experienced driver, just to get to know how our guys do things and interact with our customers. And, you bring somebody in, you're not 100% sure what they're going to be like,
how they're going to treat your customers. Because that is a lot of it. Livestock hauling is so intimate. And even in the feed side of it, you get into these yards and you have an attitude with not remembering that the customer is right. I mean, we all have bad days. I'll throw my own stepdad under the bus here. He was having a bad day one day and I got the feed off the cement a little bit. And you want to talk about a butt chewing. These farmers take their farms, their places, their livestock. They take it very serious and they want to know that they got good people, good attitudes. So I see where you're saying it is a little harder for you guys probably to find a help because it's not just throwing a driver in a seat and hoping the truck makes it from point A to point B. It's how personable are they on each end? How are they treating our customers? How are they treating the livestock in front of our customers?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that goes into it. It is harder to find help, I would say, on livestock end of things. But that's why I enjoy it so much is because I'm not just a driver in this world. I get a little bit of gratitude out of it, I guess you could say, from people you can tell. I mean, the ways that you get when you're in the yards, the personal relationships you make because you're seeing these people so often. You get to know their kids, their grandkids,
their
dogs. That's, I'll be honest, I learned many years ago, I carry a box of milk bones in my truck. You give a dog, a farmer's dog, a milk bone, and that farmer just lights up and it's like, yes, I gained that guy's approval, like he knows he can trust me because I'm coming in here and I'm respecting his dog that's possibly going to be in the way or whatever. They just see that little bit aside like, okay, that guy cares is what I feel like it shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's my simple way of showing them, hey, care about you, care about your place and everybody around here. Hope I can come back. My way of getting my foot in the door, I guess, and keeping it there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that is hard to train.
It is. And I'll be honest, I guess if me and Smoke can probably tell so many stories of my dad said this or my dad said that, because he was very good at training us to be hard workers and to take pride in our work. And he would always say, I can get you all the work that's out there. It's on you and my drivers to keep that work. And that's so true. He was so good at his job, just like Smoke is so good at his job with dispatching, and they can find all the work that there needs to be, hopefully. But it's on us on the other end to do our job and be very responsible and gain the respect of all the farmers and the packers and everywhere you go to keep that business. And I think sometimes that is forgotten.
I say all the time, Smoke can make you money.
Oh, yes.
If you want to work, he will put you to work. If you want to make money, he will make you money.
Yes.
But you are going to work.
You are going to work. You are going to work for it. But he's so good at talking with people, just like my dad was. And that's where that comes from. And that's why they will make you so much money because they're so personal and they can get along with so many different people in the industry. And they've gained them bonds and trust from people. But it is on the drivers to keep them relationships going and to keep that trust. And I guess I just wish drivers would know how important they really are instead of just thinking they're a driver.
Yeah.
You are super important to being here, and nobody has a business without the employee. That's just the true story. I appreciate you having me and being able to tell my side from a one truck story. What I tell people is I buy myself a good job. I buy myself a good job and a good wage to where I can have a little flexibility in my schedule instead of you got to be here at 6 and you're off at 3. If the kids have donuts with dads, I can go in and make that. I can do different things and move my schedule around. But what I also loved about just driving and then switching over to owner-operator, I suppose, over the road was for your younger generation, getting into it. If you can get your CDL, get a local job for a year or two, and then get a job going over the road and gaining respect of a company like what my brother Smoke has, and going out and meeting the people that he works with or meeting the different livestock industry people or seeing the whole countryside. And what's nice about the livestock industry is you don't just drive to the city and go see somewhere. You're out in the middle of the mountains in Virginia. You're out in the middle of the mountains of Oregon. You're going to see scenery that you'll only see if you take a week off work and maybe see that stuff 5 times in your life. I enjoyed it so much because I felt like I was on vacation a lot. I could get parked in the mountains and go for a walk and go sit on a mountainside and pray. And it was just such a great experience that I would never, ever take back in my life.
I love that.
I hope it gives some people some inspiration, and you can make a shit ton of money while you do it.
Right.
So you're making good money. You're meeting fun people. I never forget one year, the 4th of July, I was stuck in Houston, Texas. So I went to a Houston Astros game over the 4th of July. You can make the best experiences out of it if you take advantage of it.
It is what you make of it.
It really is. And that's life. But it's a really great job if people do want to get into it someday and find a community of people that care about each other. You can learn so much more in life than just your 8 to 5 mundane life, I guess. You're always learning something. There's a new challenge thrown at you every day.
Well, actually, let's touch on Behrens luck quick. We have a little thing around here we call Behrens luck. and essentially it's bad luck.
Yeah, essentially it is. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck. I don't know. I think it's come from just my dad was such a good-hearted person, but he just had the worst luck. So you're like, how can such a great-hearted dude have such the worst luck? Most of the time, he would let it roll off his back like water in a duck. I mean, there's a lot of times where he'd have that Behrens attitude like we all do, you know, to where you're like, oh, I better just walk away from this one, you know. But, I mean, it happens every day, it seems like. And why that seems to be, I don't know, because we're also very blessed and fortunate of where we're all at.
Yeah, I think we are all very grateful of what we have, but it's like life just likes to remind us once in a while, I can knock you right back down.
100%. I woke up yesterday morning just clicking my heels, got to my truck, and my air dryer was frozen. Like, oh, well, here we go. Let's crawl underneath with the torch and get it going. It definitely teaches you a lot of patience. Trucking will teach you to have a lot of patience in life because stuff is going to break every day. You might deal with the DOT every day. They got their job to do. They're not out there to make us miserable, I don't feel.
No, I mean, there might be one or two that
there might be. You got your bad
shoulder, but
yes, you got your bad apple in every job. But, you know, I think they get a really bad rap when they're really just out there to keep the roadways safe. I do want to say that about them. But beyond that, the Behrens luck is something that I don't know. We all have it. I feel like, you know, it's rolled off onto my kids. I'll just look at them and some of their luck sometimes like, oh, you poor sucker.
All right. Well, with that, we will wrap it up. I do just want to close this out by saying I cannot thank you all enough for tuning in, and I have received so much great feedback already, and I want to do a giveaway to say thank you. So I am going to give away a new Behrens & Co. hat to one lucky listener. We're going to start this today, March 12th, and close it on March 31st. So you have the rest of the month of March to enter, screenshot your favorite episode, add it to either your Instagram or Facebook stories, and tag at Behrens & Co. I will also make a post on Facebook and Instagram. So comment on that, tag a friend for an additional entry. And if you rate and review on Apple Podcasts, I will also throw your name in. So just make sure if you do that to sign your name so I know who wrote it and who to enter into the giveaway. So winners will be announced on April 1st. And good luck. Thank you so much for sharing and for all the feedback. I just can't say thank you enough. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Rural Dispatch. I hope you found something valuable to take back to your own operation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. You can keep up with me between episodes on socials at Behrens & Co. or join our email list on our website to get new episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Wednesday. Until next time, keep those wheels turning. We'll talk soon.